Alright, strap in folks, cause have I got an I Don't Work Here Lady classic for you. It was one of those perfectly normal Tuesday afternoons, you know. Just needed to grab some stuff for a party later that night, mostly soda, cause someone's gotta be the responsible-ish one. I was cruising down the main aisle of the grocery store, probably humming off-key, deep in thought about whether cherry or classic cola reigns supreme. That's when I saw him. This older gentleman, probably pushing 70, was having a serious battle with a single-gallon jug of water, like full-on shaky hands leaning against the shelf, breathing a bit heavy. It looked like that jug weighed 100 pounds to him. My first instinct, you know, is just help the guy, so I wander over, give him a little space and ask, "Hey man, need a hand with that, looks kinda awkward." He gives me this tired but polite smile and shakes his head. "Appreciate it, son, but I think I've got it." Just catching my breath. Fair enough. I gave him a nod, said all right, take it easy, and went back to my vital soda quest maybe 10 feet away. Not even 30 seconds later, I hear it, a voice like nails on a chalkboard mixed with pure entitlement. "Excuse me, you need to carry this for me. Now." I kinda glance back over my shoulder, thinking she's talking to an employee stocking shelves or something. Nope, she's zeroed in on the same elderly guy who was just wrestling with his 1 gallon. And what does she have? Not one, not two, but a massive, plastic-wrapped 36-pack of bottled water sitting in her cart like a throne. The sheer audacity, right? The poor guy just kinda blinked at her, still holding his single gallon like a shield. Before he could even squeak out a reply, this woman, let's call her Karen because, I mean, obviously, pivots, her eyes lock onto me. Now picture this, she's maybe late 40s, early 50s, dressed to the nines in this tight, kinda loud pink dress that looked way too fancy for grocery shopping on a Tuesday. Perfect blonde helmet hair, immaculate makeup. Looked like she just stepped out of a charity luncheon and expected the world to keep catering to her. Well, she snaps, gesturing towards the behemoth water pack with one perfectly manicured hand. "Are you deaf?" I said. "I need this carried to the checkout." "Hop to it." I just kinda stared for a second, trying to process the sheer nerve. I held up my hands, palms out. "Whoa, hang on. First off, I don't work here. Second, you were just trying to get that gentleman." I nodded towards the old guy, who was wisely trying to become invisible, to haul that thing after he clearly struggled with 1 gallon. Karen's face went from entitled to furious in 0.5 seconds. It was actually impressive in a terrifying way. "Don't you lie to me, I saw you talking to him, you were clearly assisting him. Now stop being lazy and do your job." Her voice was getting louder, starting to echo a bit in the aisle. People were starting to peek around corners. "Lady," I offered him help cause he looked like he needed it. "That's called being a decent human. It's not a job description," I said, trying to keep my cool, but honestly my annoyance was bubbling up. I probably made the mistake of taking a sip from the iced coffee I'd been carrying, a little gesture of "I'm just a customer, chilling." Wrong move. That sip seemed to break whatever tiny shred of control she had left. "How dare you," she shrieked, stepping right up into my personal space. "You lazy, insolent brat," and before I could even react, whack. She slapped the iced coffee right out of my hand. It exploded all over the floor, splashing up onto my jeans, onto her pristine pink dress, even hitting the bottom shelf of chips nearby. There was this moment of stunned silence, just the dripping sound and the smell of cheap vanilla latte hitting the linoleum. Suddenly, a calm but firm voice cut through the tension. "Ma'am, is there a problem here?" "Store manager, thank God." He had that weary "not again" look on his face even before he took in the scene, me dripping coffee, Karen practically vibrating with rage, the old guy trying to edge away, and the puddle spreading between us. Karen immediately launched into her performance. This employee," she spat, pointing a shaking finger at me. "He refused to help me, he was rude, disrespectful, and then he assaulted me with his drink." My jaw just dropped. Assaulted her? I looked at the manager, trying to keep the "are you freaking kidding me" expression off my face. "Sir," I said, keeping my voice as level as I could manage, "I don't work here." I was getting soda. I saw her demanding that elderly gentleman carry that huge pack of water for her, even though he was struggling with just 1 gallon. I told her I didn't work here when she demanded I carry it, and she got verbally abusive and then slapped my coffee out of my hand. I gestured at the mess, my stained jeans, and the splash marks on her dress that clearly came from my direction. The manager looked from me to Karen to the mess, and then gave a small, almost imperceptible nod to the older gentleman who tentatively confirmed my version with a quick head movement. He sighed, turning back to Karen. "Ma'am, I know for a fact this young man isn't one of my employees, and frankly, based on what I'm seeing and hearing, your behavior is unacceptable. I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "Leave?" she screeched. "I am a paying customer. I have never been so insulted. I demand compensation. I want him fired." "He doesn't work here, ma'am," the manager repeated, his voice losing its patience. "And right now, you're causing a disturbance. You can leave voluntarily, or I can call the police to escort you out." That finally seemed to penetrate the rage bubble. Her face contorted, she shot me a look that could curdle milk, muttered something about incompetent management and terrible service, then grabbed her ridiculously oversized purse and stormed off towards the exit, leaving her cart and the water pack right there in the middle of the aisle. The manager immediately signaled another employee over, who started cleaning up the coffee spill. He turned to me, looking genuinely apologetic. "Sir, I am so sorry you had to deal with that. Are you all right?" He glanced at my coffee-stained jeans. "Look, let us get you cleaned up a bit. And please grab whatever soda you were getting on the house, maybe a gift card for your trouble." I was still kinda shaky, adrenaline pumping. "Wow, thanks, yeah, I'm okay, just wow." The employee cleaning up looked at me and rolled his eyes. "Don't worry about her, man. She pulls stuff like this all the time." We were kinda hoping she'd finally cross a line. I ended up in the store bathroom, rinsing the worst of the coffee off my jeans, hands still trembling a bit. When I came out, the manager handed me a free 12-pack of my chosen cola and a $20 gift card. The older gentleman had apparently finished his shopping and gone, but the manager said he'd confirmed my story again before leaving. Walking out of the store into the fresh air, it all felt kinda surreal. Part of me was annoyed, sticky, and just wanted to get to that party. But another part, yeah, okay, maybe a little bit proud. Didn't back down, didn't let her bully me or that old guy. Sometimes just standing your ground against a tidal wave of entitlement feels like a small victory, you know. So yeah, that was my Tuesday adventure in retail hell. Never a dull moment when Karens roam the earth. Anyway, thanks for reading my novel.
You've survived 2 Reddit roller coasters. Might as well subscribe before the third wrecks you emotionally.
Hey Reddit, Ethan here, and man, do I have a doozy for you. This isn't just a story, it's a saga from one of those days where the universe just decides you're its chew toy. It all started with a simple craving for cake, and ended with me questioning the sanity of the general public. So picture this, I'm dragging myself home from a long shift, earbuds in, probably looking like a zombie with a mission. My mission, cake mix. Specifically, the good stuff for my mom. She'd been feeling a bit down, and I figured a home-baked, well, home-assembled cake would do the trick. I'm in the baking aisle of my local supermarket. You know the one, where the fluorescent lights hum just a little too loudly and one wheel on every cart inevitably squeaks. I'm scanning the shelves, trying to locate that elusive box of devil's food, when I spot it on a slightly higher shelf. I stretch maybe a bit too enthusiastically for my tired state, and my elbow connects with a whole display of fancy, individual packaged cake mixes. Bam! Like a colorful, sugary avalanche, about 5 or 6 of them go tumbling down. Not my finest moment, I'll admit. I muttered a "whoops, classic Ethan," and started to gather the fallen soldiers, a sheepish grin plastered on my face. I mean, what else can you do but laugh at your own clumsiness, right? That's when I felt it, not a tap, not a polite cough. A full-on, vice-like grip on my arm. I straightened up, startled to see a woman, let's call her Karen for tradition's sake. Karen had that "I demand to speak to the manager of the universe" haircut, an expensive-looking handbag clutched like a weapon, and eyes that could curdle milk. "Finally," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I've been trying to get your attention for ages. Are you just going to stand there playing with the stock, or are you going to help me? I blinked, genuinely confused. I'm sorry, I don't work here, I managed, gesturing vaguely at my very civilian-looking jeans and band t-shirt, and then at the cake mix boxes I was still trying to corral. Karen let out a scoff that could have withered a lesser man. Don't lie to me, young man, I saw you fiddling with those boxes. And are those earphones? She gestured dramatically at my earbuds, which I'd forgotten to take out. Listening to music while on duty, the absolute nerve. I need to know where your organic, gluten-free, ethically sourced unicorn tear sprinkles are, and I need to know now. My brain was still trying to process unicorn tear sprinkles when I tried again. Look, lady, I really don't. I just knocked these over. I'm a customer, see. I held up one of the cake mixes I was planning to buy. Useless, she declared, her voice rising. Absolutely useless. You employees are all the same. No work ethic, just standing around, ignoring paying customers. By now, a couple of actual shoppers were starting to give us the side-eye. My face was burning. I just wanted my cake mix for Mom. I'm really not an employee, I said, trying to keep my voice even though my patience was wearing thinner than cheap frosting. I'm just trying to pick up a few things for my mom. She's not feeling great. Oh, an excuse now, is it? Karen was relentless. I demand to see your manager. This kind of incompetence is unacceptable. Just as I was contemplating whether feigning a sudden medical episode was a viable escape route, a figure in a store polo shirt appeared. The cavalry, or so I hoped. This was a young guy, looked like he was barely out of his teens, with assistant manager trainee on his name tag. Poor kid. Is there a problem here? He asked, his voice a little shaky as Karen immediately rounded on him. Yes, there's a problem, she shrieked, jabbing a finger in my direction. This slacker refuses to help me. He was messing up the shelves, listening to music, and then he had the audacity to lie about not working here. I want him disciplined. The trainee manager looked from Karen's apoplectic face to my increasingly desperate one. I just gave him a help me look and said, as calmly as I could, Sir, I'm just a customer. I accidentally knocked over these cake mixes and I was picking them up. I was on my way to get this for my mom. I held up the devil's food again. The manager looked at my clothes, then at Karen, then back at me. He seemed to grasp the situation pretty quickly. He took a deep breath. Ma'am, he said, addressing Karen with the forced politeness of someone who'd had this training module drilled into him, this gentleman doesn't work here. He's a customer like yourself. Karen's face went through an impressive range of colors, from puce to a rather alarming shade of purple. She sputtered for a moment, then drew herself up. Well, he was still incredibly unhelpful. And in the way, with a final, withering glare in my direction, she huffed, this whole store is useless, and stormed off, presumably in search of another retail victim or perhaps those mythical unicorn sprinkles. The trainee manager gave me a weary, apologetic smile. Sorry about that, man. Rough day. You have no idea, I chuckled, finally feeling the tension leave my shoulders. Just trying to get some cake mix. I paid for my devil's food, and one of the fancy ones I'd knocked over felt like penance and got out of there shaking my head. The things people will get worked up over, huh? But hey, at least Mom got her cake and I got a story for you guys. So, next time you're just minding your own business and life throws a Karen at you, remember me, Ethan, the accidental cake mix stalking, music listening, useless non-employee. Stay safe out there, folks.
Hey everyone on r/IDontWorkHereLady. Got another weird one for you today, and man, this one was a trip. So picture this, I was just minding my own business, browsing around a big box sporting goods store. You know, the kind, massive place, aisle after aisle of gear. My mission? Find some decent camping stuff, maybe a new tent or a sleeping bag. I headed straight for that section, just trying to get my shopping done. As I was checking out some tents, I got that weird feeling. You know, the one where you feel like eyes are on you. I looked up and nope, wasn't my imagination. There was a guy standing a ways off, just watching me. He wasn't looking at merchandise, he didn't have a basket or a cart. My immediate thought was, okay, maybe he's plainclothes security. Didn't think too much of it, figured I'd just keep shopping. But then I moved to the bow hunting area, totally different side of the store, and guess what? 5 minutes later, the same guy shows up. He wasn't looking at the bows, just lurking nearby. I was like, okay, that's a little weird. Maybe he's just really into the sections I'm into. Whatever, I moved on. Next stop, the ammo and reloading section. Figure that's a niche enough interest. Nope. Within a minute or two, Mr. Stalker appears again, acting all nonchalant but clearly keeping tabs on me. At this point, my internal alarm bells were ringing. What in the actual heck was going on? Was he really security? Did he think I looked suspicious? I was just wearing jeans and a t-shirt looking at bullets. I was browsing some reloading supplies when he finally made his move. He sort of sidled over and awkwardly blocked my path slightly, trying to make small talk. He seemed nervous, shifty even. It was super uncomfortable. And then his eyes darted down towards my right hip. Okay, so context. I'm a licensed, responsible gun owner and I carry concealed. It's my right and I follow all the laws, meaning it stays hidden unless there's a life-threatening emergency. But the guy spotted the outline of my concealed handgun through my clothes. You could see the slight bulge. As soon as he saw it, he started to inch closer to my right side. That's a huge red flag, man. My instinct screamed danger. I immediately turned away from him and used the hand basket I was carrying to casually cover my side. That's when he leaned in a little and said in a low voice, "I know you're security." I honestly laughed a little. It was so out of left field. "Dude, I'm just shopping," I told him, probably sounding more annoyed than amused. But he wouldn't back down. "No, you're security. I'm going to tell everyone," he insisted. I didn't want to cause a scene, especially with him acting this weird, so I just mumbled something like, "Whatever, man," and tried to keep looking at the ammo, hoping he'd get bored and leave. He didn't. He followed me, muttering about me being security, occasionally saying it louder when other shoppers were nearby. It was incredibly awkward and infuriating. People were starting to stare. I felt my face getting hot. I'd had enough. I decided to bail, forget the camping gear and the ammo. I headed straight for the front of the store, dropped my empty basket near the returns desk, didn't even have anything to buy anymore thanks to this guy, and made a beeline for the registers, figuring I'd just walk out. He followed me all the way to the entrance, but just as I stepped through the doors and the sensor beep beep beep, the alarm went off behind me. I stopped and turned around. The guy was still standing right there inside the door. A couple of store employees immediately zeroed in on him, not me. "Sir, could you please come back? It seems you have some unpaid merchandise on you," one of them said, pointing at his pockets. The guy just froze. He didn't step outside. I just stood there for a good 10, maybe 15 minutes, watching from a safe distance. The store staff were clearly dealing with him inside the entrance. I figured if he really was security, he'd know better than to walk out with stolen stuff, especially after acting like a paranoid weirdo about me. Turns out the guy wasn't security at all. He was just a thief acting bizarrely, possibly trying to deflect attention, or maybe he genuinely got paranoid because he spotted my legal carry. Whatever his twisted logic, he ended up busted. I just shook my head, watched the store staff handle their actual problem customer, and when it looked like they had it under control, and I saw flashes of red and blue pulling up outside, I just left. So yeah, that's the story of how I got mistaken for security by the actual guy who was stealing stuff. You really can't make this stuff up sometimes. Stay aware out there, folks, even when you're just trying to buy bug spray.
Liking the vibe so far? Hit that subscribe button and stick around, the next story's even better.
Alright, so I used to sling subs at the Publix deli, right? And you'd think, hey, making sandwiches, how hard can it be? Let me tell ya, it wasn't the work, it was some of the clientele. We had this one lady, gotta be in her 70s, who was our Sunday special and not in a good way. Let's call her the chicken tender tyrant. Every single Sunday, she'd roll in sharp as a tack in her pressed slacks and too bright lipstick and demand, not order, demand a toasted chicken tender sub with shredded pepper jack. Now, this woman wasn't just particular, she was a one-woman wrecking crew for staff morale. If there was even one person ahead of her, you'd hear this loud, theatrical sigh followed by, "Is anyone actually working today?" This service gets worse every year. She'd snap her fingers if you weren't looking directly at her when she spoke, or worse, let out this high-pitched whistle that could curdle milk. Please and thank you weren't in her vocabulary. And no matter how perfectly you made that sub, something was always wrong. Too much mayo, not toasted enough. Are these tenders fresh? It was exhausting. We all dreaded Sunday afternoons. So one Sunday, it's my turn to deal with the tyrant. I'm making her sub, going through the motions, trying to just get it over with. She watches me like a hawk, arms crossed, foot tapping. I finish, wrap it up, hand it over. And then she pipes up, voice dripping with accusation. You know, I didn't see you wash your hands before you started that. I just stared at her. I'd washed my hands literally 2 minutes before, right after the last customer, as per policy and basic hygiene, but she was already gearing up. I want a new sub. And I want to see you wash your hands this time properly. That was it. That was the straw. All the finger snapping, the whistling, the constant barrage of complaints. I was just so over it. I looked her dead in the eye, took off my apron and said, you know what, you can have it. I quit and I walked straight to the manager's office and did just that. Best feeling ever. Fast forward about 3 days. I'd left my phone charger at work and my buddy who still worked there said he'd grab it for me. So I swing by Publix, casual clothes, just there to pick up my charger. As I'm walking past the deli, who do I see at the front of the line, already looking like she's about to explode? The chicken tender tyrant herself. She spots me, her eyes narrow. Before I can even blink, she steps out of line, points a bony finger right in my face and barks, "Hey, you get back there and make my sub, I've been waiting." I blinked, sorry ma'am, but I don't work here anymore. I quit a few days ago. I tried to keep it light, maybe even a little smile. Big mistake. Don't you lie to me, she shrieked, her voice climbing. I saw you here just the other day. You lazy kids are all the same, trying to get out of work. I started to back up. No, really, I don't. That's when she lunged. Her fingers, surprisingly strong, clamped onto my forearm like a vice. You're not going anywhere until you make my sub, she screeched, spittle flying. A few shoppers were starting to stare. Whoa, hey, let go of me, I said, yanking my arm free. This was escalating way too fast. I'm serious, I don't work here. She just puffed up, ready for another round of screaming. I wasn't having it. I turned on my heel and marched straight to the customer service desk. Excuse me, I said to the manager, a guy named Dave who knew me well. There's a woman over at the deli harassing customers and she just grabbed me. Claimed I worked there. Dave's eyebrows shot up. Was it a loud woman, kinda screechy? You know the one, I said. Figured, heard some yelling, let's go see. We walked back over to the deli. By now, a small crowd had gathered. The tyrant was red-faced, still ranting to anyone who'd listen and many who wouldn't about the terrible service. Dave stepped right up to her. Ma'am, he said, his voice calm but firm. This young man no longer works for Publix, and frankly, your behavior is disturbing other customers. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Her jaw dropped. For a second, I thought she might actually spontaneously combust. Then came the sputtering. Well, I never. This is outrageous. Publix sucks anyway, she huffed, snatching her purse. I'm calling corporate. You'll all be sorry. She stormed out, muttering about incompetence and how she'd take her business to Winn-Dixie, a fate worse than death for a Publix loyalist, usually. As soon as she was out the door, a couple of my old coworkers from the deli rushed over. Dude, you're a legend, one of them said, slapping me on the back. My phone started buzzing a minute later, text from the deli crew. Stuff like OMG, thank you, and did you see her face? And my personal favorite, see you never, you old hag, we owe you lunch. So yeah, that's how I accidentally got the chicken tender tyrant banned from Publix. Turns out not working there anymore was the best way to deal with her after all. And I got my charger. Win-win.
This next video hits the same vibe. Check it out.